Construction continues to decline. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my stein of coffee. I thought we'd have a look at recent data released from the AI group with regards to construction. Now, the Performance of Construction Index, this is a quantitative measure of qualitative results. And by that I mean a numerical measurement of a series of quantitative, which is emotional type of responses, like did you do better this month than last month, across a whole range of things. Are your sales better in this sector or in this business portion than previous month? Compared to last month, has it improved or has it gotten worse? You simply answer yes or no. I know because I just did that survey, and I'd actually be one of the more positive people because compared to last month, which was December, or January actually, we've been doing quite well. We've gotten busier, but because we're such a smaller firm, I've shrunk back over the last couple of years. It is much easier for me to hit capacity. I've learned that because at one stage I had a whole lot of people working for me and I had to just keep the work coming in. So it's just adapting to the conditions in the markets. A couple of years ago, if I had had the work now that's keeping me and Rachel busy, it's a bit different when you've got a few assistants working for you and you just need to keep the work coming in. But nonetheless, let's have a look at this data because sadly the construction industry, but not surprisingly, is still slowing down and downturning in January, but the decline has decreased. This is in line with the building approvals have been trending down. But for those of you that aren't in the game, aren't in construction, December and January is usually very quiet for a lot of sectors. We've got some work with a client who's doing work in the education sector for government, so this is probably one of the busier times. Often they need to get the work done over the school holidays. But for the majority of construction and for our business, we'd often tell the guys, take a couple of extra weeks off in January, use your holiday time, take a longer holiday, it's dead quiet. Let me know in the comments, guys, if your businesses are similar, if these are usually quiet months. I'm noticing too, even on YouTube, the advertisements, they drop down too on January as opposed to the run up to Christmas. So it's the same type of thing. You get more advertising. They're different adverts, different people advertising, and then it just quietens down a bit as it goes. Nonetheless, let's have a look at this from AI Group. So, construction downturn eases in January 2020 as the housing building activities improves. So good, housing is improving. The Australian Industry Group, Housing Industry Association Australian Performance of Construction Index, Australian PCI, increased by 2.4% to 41.3 points in January, seasonally adjusted. Okay, now with this index, 50, if it's sitting on 50, it means the number of people that said things have gotten better and the number of people that have said things have gotten worse is exactly the same. So now that we're below 50, we're at 41.3, there's still more people saying it's gotten worse than the last month, but not as many. So there are less pessimistic people or less people experiencing a downturn. Okay, so it's still getting worse, but the worseness or the rate of decline is decreasing. Worseness. So indicates that the construction industry decline at a slightly slower pace at the start of 2020. Results under 50 points in the Australian PCI indicate deteriorating conditions, with lower results indicating a faster pace of decline. The milder decline in the Australian PCI in January reflects less pronounced reductions in activity and new orders. However, both employment and deliveries from suppliers contracted at steeper rates. So, well, what does that tell you? If employment is going down and deliveries are going down, maybe people are planning for what's to come. So it looks like you can see here, housing is the only thing that's gone up from the previous month. Across the four sectors in the Australian PCI, house building expanded mildly in January, following stability in the previous 2 months at the trend. Elsewhere, conditions were more subdued, with further falls in activity across the apartments, commercial and engineering construction sectors. There were positive reports from residential builders indicating that home buyers' demand is being supported by low interest rates and an ease in banking lending restrictions. However, other building businesses noted ongoing caution among prospective home buyers due to the slow and uncertain domestic economy. Concerns were expressed about strong competition for the available work and about bushfire-related disruptions to activities. So we can see here, what is it, the mining engineering boom, and you've got it, how it's going. Percent change per annum, yeah, it's not looking good. So what's down? Activity overall is up from previous, but still down. Everything's in the negative. Everything is in declining, except for housing. Except for housing. So let's have a look at these different sectors. House building was the best performing of the four construction sectors in January at 51.7 points, with activity lifting above 50 points, indicating mild expansion and stability continuing in new orders. In contrast, apartment building, 37.0 points, trend remained firmly negative, indicating a rate of decline that was largely unchanged from the previous month. Across the major project areas, commercial construction, 39.9 points, recorded an 18th month of contraction amid continued weakness in demand. So construction and apartments are doing terrible, frankly. The index for engineering construction, 34.2, also indicated a further fall that month. Engineering. So are we going to see government throwing money at infrastructure spending, and will that address this? Construction, wages and prices. Input price inflation in the Australian PCI picked up in January to the highest level in 12 months. The input price index increased by 8.2 points to 73.1 points, indicating that cost pressures in the construction of building projects, including higher imported input prices from a lower Australian dollar, there you go, intensified during the month. So this is the thing, guys, when people say a lower dollar is good for our exports. Okay, that's great. And I'm going to bring up this chart or this website to show everyone, the Observatory of Economic Complexities. Look at what we're exporting. All this stuff that the colony of Australia sends to the more advanced nations in the world, more advanced economies, will get cheaper for them. But all of these things we import will get more expensive. And with regards to construction, just go for a walk around Bunnings, doing your home renos, and see how many of the products there are actually manufactured overseas, are imported in the country. And here's the problem, guys. It's all going to get more expensive. I guess the RBA would love that. That'll drive up inflation. Oh wait, they don't count houses, do they? Not properly anyway. The wage gap between these price series and the Australian PCI also demonstrated that profit margins remained tight for many construction businesses. Construction activity across the construction industry, both activity 42.3 and new orders 40.9 continued to contract in January. Although at slower rates relative to the previous month, however, there were steeper falls in deliveries of inputs from suppliers. While employment also recorded further contraction, indicating a general reluctance by businesses to increase their workforce capacity amid ongoing soft demand at an aggregate level. So, there you go, guys. Did the RBA see this when they're? I guess what could they have done? Would actually cutting the rates, cash rates even lower, made any difference? That's probably why we're only getting a positive in the housing at all. Is because the cash rate is insanely low. So construction highlights. The Australian PCI suggests that the housing sector has improved tentatively at the start of 2020, following 2 months of stable conditions. The commercial construction sector is continuing to detract from industry-wide performance, although higher approvals in some key projects areas are likely to be supportive of activity in 2020. Engineering activity is also continuing to decline, and reports of a slow rollout of new infrastructure projects, although some businesses noted higher workloads in the month. Construction concerns. Survey respondents continue to indicate significant margin pressure from a highly competitive tendering environment. Now what they're meaning here is, guys, when builders or contractors put in a tender, or even consultants put in a tender, you've got all your costs and you've got a profit margin. And some of these builders, because remember, there's always unknowns in a project, they'll go in with really tight margins, like some 1%, couple percent. Some will even go -% and then squeeze their subbies to get more money out of them, to get more blood out of a stone. Is that fair? Bloody oath, it ain't. Does it happen? Bet your dollar it happens. Let us know in the comments if you've experienced that, guys. How many times have you put a tender in, they've won the job, then they've called back going, oh no, you've got to do it cheaper, oh no, we've gone to someone else. So here we go. You know, the Australian PCI, 12-month average at 42.1, we're below the average. Activity, slightly above the average. Employment, below the average. New orders, below the average. Supply deliveries, below the average. Input prices, above average. Selling prices, slightly above. Wages, below. So here's house building activity. We'll just have a look here. Volume of new houses, house building work done fell by 3.7% quarter-on-quarter to 8.8 billion in the September quarter. Houses new orders. The total number of new private house approvals increased by 0.3% month-on-month to 8,368 in December. Apartment building activity Q3 fell to 7.3 billion. The apartment activity index increased by 0.1 points to 30.7 in January at the trend. 22nd month of contraction, guys. I mean, look at that. You'd hate to be dependent on the apartment sector. I'd hate to have an architectural practice that was just exclusively working for that sector. That'd be tough. That'd be tough. New orders, total number of private other dwelling approvals increased by 4.9% month-on-month to 5,889 in December, which is good. Apartment orders fell by 1.6%. Engineering activity, I mean, there we go, guys. That ain't looking good. Down, down. Input prices are trending up. Selling prices are up, which is good. Wages are not looking good. Activity, employment, and new orders. I'll link to this if you want to go through it in greater detail, guys. But really, the construction sector is feeling it. We'll have to see what the next month holds, particularly with the decline in other parts of the economy due to declined trade, declined tourism, declined, lower iron ore prices. What do you all think, guys? How are you noticing anything in your part of the construction industry? Are you picking work up? Getting a bit quiet? What space do you play in? This is the thing. There's different parts of the sector. I remember a few years back, when we first started business, we were flat out. We were busy. I instantly had over, I think we had 4 assistants at one stage straight away, really quick, probably a little too quick. And it's because we'd gotten ourselves in a nice little niche just doing mining work, and speculative mining works for one of the big builders, which is a problem because I was like the crayfish industry. I had about 80% revenue coming from one client, so I did everything I could to get multiple clients and to keep it going. Because the more staff you go, the more you need to trace. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to help us that little bit extra, there's several ways you can do it. You can join us on Patreon with a small monthly donation. You can also join the channel here on YouTube. You can access to emojis and badges. We have affiliate links for Independent Reserve for your crypto trading. We get a share of the fees. For Amazon and eBay for your consumer purchases, we receive a advertising fee when you use our link. I see some people have been buying a whole lot of Blu-ray DVDs, stocking up, which is probably sensible considering how often they're starting to edit these movies now. Finally, we have PayPal if you want to make a direct contribution, or our very own handmade pocket squares that you can find on the HeiseSays blog. Thanks to everyone who's supporting the channel, watching the content, sharing everything. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.